Yes, the spice must flow.
Okay. Good, whatever time it is when you actually watch this and it's broadcast. Hi, my name is Alex S. Johnson, aka Kandy Fontaine, Goddess, and have prepared a little introduction for myself, which feels vainglorious. I will just say that I run Nocturnicorn Books in Carmichael, California. It's a suburb of Sacramento and the state capital. And I've had the honor of working with icons from Ramsey Campbell to Caitlin R. Kiernan to Jarbo of Swans and David J. Haskins from Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, and who are some of our contributors, and also Betty White. I've worked with Betty White, so and our very special guest is none other than Evan J. Peterson, a writer, poet, game designer, and performer whose work blends horror, queerness, satire, and speculative fiction. Evan is the author of the Prep Diaries, Better Living Through Alchemy, and Metaflesh Poems in the Voices of the Monster. They are also the creator of Drag Star, the world's first drag performance RPG, and The Road to Innsmouth, an interactive fiction set in the Arkham horror universe. Evan's performances are known for their outrageous high concept artistry, and his editorial work has been recognized with a Lambda Literary Award finalist nod. Together, we'll explore monsters, queerness, apocalypse, satire, and the ways art can reshape future. And speaking of lambdas, lammies, the lammies, right?
Yeah,
First of all, congratulations.
thank you.
Um, one of my closest buddies and real supporters is Jan Steckel. I don't know if you know Jan.
I
Her
don't
work,
know Jan.
but she is a retired pediatrician. She earned her bachelor's degree in English literature from Harvard Radcliffe, and then earned her her MD at Yale University. No big deal, right? And so and
As one does.
she's also a Lammy Award winner, and she wrote the book The Horizontal Poet,
Hmm.
and she's a regular contributor. She's bisexual, and so is her husband, and they're like disability rights and bi rights activists. So that's wonderful, one of my many wonderful friends. So um, I'm really happy to have you join us, Evan. So I want to start out by talking about um, your work, and I want to ask you. We'd been discussing how the splatterpunk, um, it wasn't really a movement. It was kind of a constellation of you know like people like Craig Spector, John Skip, and R.C. Matheson, the son of course, Richard Matheson, Poppy Bright, now Billy Martin, and John Shirley, and David J. Scow, of course. And so I, I find it really interesting, as you say, that so many of these writers are queer, and how queerness has kind of shaped identity, as well as writing from the margins, which is something that another friend of mine and longtime, kind of a contributor, Lucy Taylor,
Mhm.
certainly when, we're talking about, um, writing from the edge and making, and one of the things that I really loved about uh, Poppy's work, particularly starting with reading Swamp Fetus or Wormwood,
Hmm.
is how he kind of centered the the marginal, and this is something that Caitlin does as well. And so I wanted to talk about queerness and horror, and how what first drew you to horror and speculative fiction as a way to explore queer identity.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Really happy to be here. Um, I need to mention that like 2 hours ago, it was just announced that Better Living Through Alchemy won the small press speculative book award for the fantasy category.
Holy
So,
Toledo. That's
yes,
congratulations. That's
thank you.
awesome. That's
Thank
so
you.
amazing. That's beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I'm still kind of floating on that.
Right.
So, definitely can address all your questions, but I wanted to get that one out of the way because like
Wow.
it hasn't even hit my bio yet.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So,
Cool.
yeah. Yeah, very fucking cool. Um,
One love.
One love. The Unilove.
The Unilove, yes. Jazz hands.
Yes. We'll do the showgirl's hands.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So my old friend Thomas S. Roche,
Hmm.
I remember when I was visiting him and he said, you gotta visit the Castro because they were and I was like, oh yeah. So and here we're originally from the Bay Area, but I was like, okay, cool. I hadn't spent any time there. And I was like, so I took the bus over there and it was like watching the primary colors get louder and louder and louder, and they had this movie theater while they were presenting Showgirls as though it were fucking Citizen Kane. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, because it wasn't it Joe Esterhaus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote the script, such as it is, and
Such as
Verhoeven
it,
directed it.
Verhoeven, yeah,
Yeah.
Verhoeven,
And they were just coming off of the success of Basic Instinct,
right.
which, while a fun and thrilling,
Yeah.
erotic thriller, Basic Instinct is really stupid. The dialogue is terrible. Like, it is not a good movie, but, it's better than a
Uh,
lot of those other 90s erotic thrillers like Color of Night or
oh,
Jade.
oh, Jade. I haven't seen, I think I saw Jade. Was that Friedkin?
I think Jade
Yeah.
was Friedkin. Shame on him.
Yeah. Well, if you want to see some quality Basic Instinct, watch Basic Instinct too. It's much better.
Is it?
Okay, you sound a tad skeptical, but yeah, indulge me. Like watch
Okay.
it. It's free on Tubi. A lot of really great movies are free on Tubi. I've
Yeah.
been
Yeah,
watching
Tubi's great.
this movie called Angel of Vengeance, which looks like a sort of a gritty, grindhouse, 1975 exploitation, movie, but it's actually a fucking awesome kind of like feminist revenge movie.
Hmm, sounds fun.
Yeah.
Okay, but you would ask me about like
About
how I connected horror
yeah,
and spec to queer
yes,
identity.
queer
And
identity.
I think it's a little bit inverse of that. Like I was a monster kid from a very, very young age.
Yeah.
By like 4 or 5, I was already into dinosaurs and werewolves and vampires and stuff like that. Oh, hey, Chibi Pinhead. So yeah, I was already really into the monsters. For me, horror is very much about the monsters. Yep, the classic. Oh, hey, Clive. I love Clive. Yeah, so it's all about monsters for me, much more than it is about slashers or stuff like that. But some of that too. It's all good. And so as I grew up, I knew I was different. I knew I was weird. And then I figured out that I was gay. And like I was gender fluid from a very young age, but we didn't have a term for that at the time. So I think if I were coming up through adolescence now, I might identify as gender fluid or non-binary. But at the time, I was just gay or queer, and more queer in the punk sense. More Bill Burroughs and John Waters than Elton John.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yes,
Um,
yes, very much so. In fact,
yeah.
did you know the late great Willem Pugmire?
I got to panel with Willem one
Fucking,
time.
fucking A.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Willem's great.
yeah.
And he was in his full Boy George Pope drag
Right, right.
that he would
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And I had also gussied up
Nice.
for this day of panels at the
Yeah.
HP Lovecraft Film Fest in
Oh,
Portland.
nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was on this panel with him and ST Yoshi,
Nice.
and I was like, "Don't upstage Willem Pugmire. Don't upstage Willem Pugmire. Let Willem Pugmire have the spotlight." But
Yes.
another panelist upstaged us both, so that was fine.
That's fun. Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
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 I'm so sorry to hear that Willem passed before I could really have a friendship with
Yeah.
him. But so it goes.
Yeah, so it goes. Yeah, last year, my good friend and contributor, Jeff Thomas, had a panel on at the Necronomicon in Providence
Hmm.
about Willem and the late great you know uh, Joe Pulver, who's another friend of mine. It was some really it's just hurts, but
Hmm.
with and yeah, and he and Jade, his daughter Jade, are also like Jade is a contributor to me as well because so
Cool.
we have we go from like I think Maxim Jakubowski is our oldest contributor, and then we have like uh Jeff, and then his daughter Jade is about 16 years old now. So we have the full range. Yeah.
The
Or
kids.
Graham Masterton is one of our people too. I think he's probably getting it on there, but no.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm 43 now, but I'm
Wow.
I'm still living like I'm 28. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. What does that entail that you can talk about?
Well, I'm married now, so
Oh, congratulations. That's
thank you.
fucking
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is.
How does it feel? Does it feel like domestic or
Yes, in a
uh,
very nice
in
way.
a nice way? Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
always wanted. It's funny, like my own romantic and sexual proclivities have always been pretty traditional and mainstream.
Right.
Um, other than being gay and
Other
gender
than, yeah,
fluid.
right, exactly.
Other than
Yeah.
that stuff, like I always wanted like the house and the dog and the
Of
one
course.
special guy. And
Right.
yeah, and now I have that and it's wonderful. And I try very hard to protect that. But
Yeah.
I'm it's okay that my career didn't break through when I was in my 20s or 30s. That's fine because it's starting to break through now.
That's amazing, and I wanted to talk about Better Living Through Alchemy, which
Mhm.
I said congratulations on the Anne Vandermeer blurb.
Thank you.
That's exceptionally cool.
Thank you. She's so
Yeah,
lovely. We've
yeah,
um we've had a professional friendship for a while now.
nice.
She published a an experimental piece of mine that ended up in the Metaflesh collection.
Oh, nice.
She published that in her final issue with Weird Tales.
Oh,
So
nice.
I am forever grateful to Anne for
Yeah,
that.
so she was a curator of Weird Tales at one point
Yes, yes, she was.
before Maybury.
This would have been
Oh,
2012, twenty
yeah.
thirteen.
Oh, wow.
That she accepted my piece. Um, and there was a whole bunch of bullshit that happened at Weird Tales magazine right after that, and I probably shouldn't get into it on a recording, but they demoted Anne Vandermeer, and I was just like,
What the actual
"You
fuck?
demoted
What the actual
Anne
fuck?
Vandermeer." So whatever.
Yeah,
I think she left. Uh, she wasn't fired, but she was more or less pushed out. by
I mean,
the new ownership and the new management.
there are so many horror stories that happening in speculative fiction that are political dynamite. I will just say, in passing and not to dwell on it, but Caitlin has had to deal with this consortium of haters, which started out on Twitter and started out with some kind of they weren't even a speculative fiction person. There was some sort of like social media expert who wrote a article called a very defamatory and ignorant article called Caitlin Arcurian has always been this way. And I discovered that this was I remember last year on X where people were like, "Well, that's for sure," and she's a white supremacist, and I was like, "Holy fucking shit! Do you know who you would This is one of the most liberal, like
Hmm.
compassionate, like she's a and she's a voice for marginalized human beings, like." She's the complete opposite of all that. But
And
it
she also doesn't have time for all this
she
bullshit.
right. She doesn't have and this has traction to this day. And I've had people, I will just mention Edward R. Morris can go fuck himself. Okay, that's okay. And on to better, you know,
Yeah. Let's
happy
talk
thoughts,
about the
happy
good
thoughts,
stuff.
happy thoughts. Which there's so much great stuff
There
to talk
is.
about.
There is.
Yeah.
And and there's also deliciously macabre stuff
Oh, nice.
in fiction that's happening,
Yeah.
you know? So
So so
I
so
like my nasty shit to be fiction.
right.
You know?
Deliciously macabre, you say?
Yeah.
Okay, so my collaborator Nicole H6 and I we don't talk about her dad,
Okay.
from Motley Crue, but yeah,
Ah,
so she curated this or she was helped to curate this the painting exhibit called Corn on the Macabre. So I just wanted to mention that.
fabulous.
Yeah. So deliciously macabre. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm I'm not I don't think I'm a dyed in the wool synesthete.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think I have synesthesia in the truly neurological sense,
Hmm.
but I do have hyperphantasia, so it's easy for me
Oh.
to blend senses. And I think of a lot of things. A lot of written work is very toothsome, very tasty in the
That's
mouth.
well. That's a very Burroughs word.
Yeah.
Man, it was toothsome.
Yes. It's got to be done real tasty.
Tasty.
Yeah,
Yes.
I watched Cronenberg's Naked Lunch when I was too young to get it,
Uh-huh.
and then watched it again as a new adult, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, all right, here, yeah, this is what I was supposed to get out of it.
Yeah.
But that was my introduction to Cronenberg and Burroughs at the age of like 12,
Wow. Nice.
before I knew that they would be two of my greatest heroes in the
Yeah. Well, you know what? So we did a Burroughs book. Actually, we did a Burroughs trilogy.
arts.
And actually, you need to send me something for the lean edition.
Okay.
That's the very best of. I didn't realize that you were a Burroughsian. So I gotta show this to you.
Mhm.
You're gonna fucking freak. Okay. Okay, this is the full director's cut.
Make me freak, Candy.
Okay. Oh man. Yow. So what is that? Yow? I don't know. Okay. Junk Merchants. Um, a
Mm.
literary tribute to William S. Burroughs. Um,
Yes, I think I saw the calls for subs. That's gorgeous.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, who look at all these wonderful people.
So that is original work by, Carrie Lee Chrome, the founder of the Runaways. Um, uh, uh,
The
Caitlin,
band.
Yes.
like Joan Jett act.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Just
Carrie Lee Mitchell, aka Carrie Lee Crump.
okay.
Um, uh, Poetry legend Ellen Mabey is a close friend of mine. So is Arvis Berry of Pink Sabbath and everything else. Maxim Jakubowski, original work by David J. Haskins, the songwriter of a little number called Bela Lugosi's Dead. Um, Unique or what do you call it? Anyway, unique work by Graham Masterton.
Hmm.
Um, a um, a song by Jarbo from Swans. Um,
I love this.
Richard Modiano, who was the
Mhm.
executive director of Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center and in Venice Beach, and it's a good friend of mine. This is original work. Michael H. Hansen, who's a Risling Award nominee, Nicole H. Six, who was the co-creator of Womanthology, has written for the IDF. Is that a thing like the comics? Or maybe I'm
Mhm.
confusing it with the Israeli Secret Service. Um,
IDW?
IDW, not the IDF. Yeah. Yeah. So Nicole is a collaborator with me and a filmmaker and a scriptwriter. And she recently wrote Demon Fever, which is directed by James Balsamo. She's also worked with James Wan. And she's a good friend of, Mick
Haven't we all?
Right? Yeah. Haven't we? Haven't
I've never
haven't
worked with James
ha-
Wan. That'd be
haven't we
fun.
all? Haven't we all? And so,
Yeah. I
um,
loved Malignant.
right, we have a Burroughs remix from Ken Goffman, aka Are You Serious? Who just interviewed me. Um, we have you know, did I mention Caitlin R. Kiernan? Yes, introduction by Poppy Z. Bright. So it
Well,
is just a it's a feast of words.
speaking of remixes of Burroughs,
Yes.
one thing that has I don't know that I've ever really attempted it, because there's a lot of audacity mixed with like copyright gray area. But I love that Philip Jose Farmer had the spine to
Yes.
to write to write a Tarzan story,
Yeah.
Tarzan created by Edgar Rice Burroughs, as though it was written by William Burroughs.
Yes.
And I read Venus on the Half Shell
Yes.
as a very young kid, was completely unprepared, but my parents basically were like, well, if it's on the shelf and he pulls it down and reads it, you know, let him
Yeah.
read it. But Venus on the Half Shell was Philip Jose Farmer writing as Kilgore Trout.
Yes.
And there's this other story, which is Jungle Rot Kid on the Nod,
Oh, yes. I,
which yeah,
I
Jungle Rot Kid on the Nod is a William Burroughs version of Tarzan and
yeah.
everything that that entails.
This is I'm going to read to you from Billy Martin's introduction.
Mhm.
Um, so because this was something that was pointed out to me by Caitlin, and I thought was hilarious. So this is a cut up intro. Okay, introduction: Facts about Mr. Burroughs by Poppy Z. Bright. This cut up introduction uses sentences from the Wikipedia entries on William S. Burroughs, Edgar Rice Burroughs, and anal sex.
Yes.
Okay, so it starts out. This is the first thing, and you know, I can't really. I've never spoken with Poppy as as Billy Martin, but I remember his voice was very kind of deadpan and low key. So it's like the Burroughs crater on Mars was named in his honor after his death. And it's very kind of dry, and I sent this to Caitlin, and she said, "Well, you realize that she's talking about Edgar Rice Burroughs. I mean, he's talking about Edgar Rice Burroughs." And I was like, I was like, "Yeah, that's very very Billy Martin, you know."
Yeah. Was it John something of Mars?
Yeah, John Carter of Mars.
John Carter. Yeah,
Yeah,
I wanted to say John Carpenter of Mars, but that's a
John
very
Carpenter
different.
of Mars.
Wouldn't that be fun?
who I've also interviewed. Yeah.
Oh,
John
I would
Carpenter
I
is
would love to meet
awesome.
John. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually wearing the this T-shirt I've got
Oh, nice.
instead of the Carpenters.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's an artist in LA who makes
Yeah.
these. They look
Yeah.
like they're in the same font as really famous bands, mostly from the
Right.
70s and 80s.
Yeah.
But he'll sub out the name of a cult
Yeah.
figure director. I also have the one that's Jodorowsky, but it's
Oh,
in the Judas
nice.
Priest font.
Nice.
So yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, we're also doing a literary tribute to Motorhead. Uh,
Okay.
you know,
I'm I've never really been into Motorhead.
yeah, that's
So
fine.
I would rather be involved in, if you'll have me,
Uh-huh.
in like Burroughs and some other stuff that we talked about.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so I can say of course because we're redefining indie publishing. So I think as a you know, it's always good to have clout. There's never a situation where it's bad to have clout.
Yeah, I mean, the clout can sour so quickly these days, but then I guess it's not clout anymore. It's just sparkling consequences.
Well, I sort of I do everything, ass backwards. So I got canceled for like a decade. I had some people really like defaming me and saying lies about me, and so I got canceled about 6 times. I got canceled from Bizarro. I got canceled from horror, and now it's full full revolution where we're on top of the, whatever. And so we're going to stay here because we're at this point we're fucking uncancelable. Like
Yeah.
in order for somebody to cancel us, they would have to go through an entire galaxy of luminaries, you know.
Yeah, and that's a shit pile I've really done my best to avoid stepping in.
Uh-huh.
But, the biggest my biggest issue with what you were saying about like people attacking Caitlin Kiernan
Yeah,
on X, like like our club, like
right.
we don't even need enemies because
Right.
we're just like trying to tear down each other, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's why the other side keeps winning.
Right, exactly.
They're really good at coming together and being like, oh, you're a hyper capitalist, and I'm a fundamentalist Episcopalian. Is that even a thing? No. I'm a religious fundamentalist. We
Uh-huh.
have nothing in common, but
But
yeah,
yeah, we both, oppress queer people, right? Hello.
uh, well,
Yeah,
until it's more financially fungible not to, and
right.
that's
Yeah,
when capitalism is our friend
right,
because we need
exactly.
money.
Right, exactly.
But pshaw. Point
Pushaw, yeah.
is, if we if the left wing, or God forbid the far left, ever wants to
Yeah,
get anywhere,
yeah,
should probably stop attacking and tearing down one another.
yeah. Well, I mean, I was thinking you referenced Waters and Burroughs himself, and what Waters said about Burroughs, in that very delicious the A Man Inside documentary is sort of like, well, that, and I won't even attempt to do a John Waters impression, but how the Burroughs was even unpopular. I mean, he wasn't correctly gay.
Right.
You're right.
Gaily incorrect.
Gaily incorrect. Yeah.
Yes.
Gaily
Yes.
incorrect. Yes, it
Burroughs
should be
Burroughs
a
as
musical.
Yes, Burroughs
Yes.
as proto-punk, and
Proto-punk.
John Waters as proto-punk.
Yeah.
Waters talks about how he thought he and his friends were hippies, but they weren't. They hated
Right.
hippies. They were actually punks before they knew they were punks and had a name for it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
like the hippies were not about, drag queens eating dog shit. That was not a big feature of the peace and love generation. However, the punks put divine on t-shirts. And the punks were real queer in the
Yeah.
beginning. Like Darby Crash and Pat
Yeah.
Smear and the Germs.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
actually not, I
What's more
swore,
punk than being a
I,
fucking queer?
I swore that I wasn't going to mention this, but since you're talking about
Yeah.
you're talking my language, okay, Evan. So, yeah, so I've collaborated with Carrie Lee Crump.
Mhm.
I've worked with and I'm a good friend of Leslie Spivey, aka Elvorian von Spivey. I've interviewed Roz Williams and Chiton
Mm.
Damone, you know, and John Shirley and Caitlin R. Kiernan and Billy Martin and you know, Peaches Christ. I recently had on the show, right?
I
So
watched
yeah,
that episode in preparation. Like, okay, so what is the Kandy Fontaine show?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, Josh Grinnell was on. Cool.
Yeah, no big deal, right?
Yeah.
Which is just happens to be the name of a Love and Rockets song,
Hmm.
like no
Hmm.
big deal, right? So yeah, we're kind of like iconic. I mean, we've passed through the portals of cancellation, and we've become icons. And
Yeah.
I think it's important to, make yourself an icon. I think everybody should be their own icon.
Well, and I also think it's important to bear goodwill, and to
Oh
know how to
yeah,
apologize.
how to
Like
apologize.
I'm not afraid of being canceled, particularly for things I did before I knew better,
Right.
because I know how to apologize and make amends, maybe because I've been through 12 step, but
Yeah,
I know how to say, right, I fucked up.
right.
I'm very sorry. What can I do to make it better?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
all Joss Whedon would have to do.
right. That's okay. So, oh yeah, Joss Whedon. What the hell, man? Um,
Don't fuck with
what the
trans
hell?
people. Like,
What did he do? How did he fuck with trans people? What?
I
What?
think
What?
I
What?
believe it.
What?
I believe the
What?
Joss Whedon downfall came because he he was asked to define, you know, uh, like the final girl, or you know,
Yeah.
like this iconic Buffy character that
Mhm.
he likes to write, and he said, I believe he said, all right, she's got to be this, she's got to be this, and no peenie balls. Like actually wrote no peenie balls, and
What does that even mean?
you know what it means.
Well, I mean, so
It bas
cannot be a trans femme.
well,
Cannot be a trans femme.
I think he meant it as has to be female,
Well,
but he was
I mean,
called out on that,
what,
and
what,
people were
wait,
like,
wait,
"What
wait, wait,
about?"
wait. Like trans women are female, period. So
Right.
what the fuck, Josh Whedon?
So he said that,
Yeah,
and that was a big old problem, and I think he doubled
yeah,
down on it. And then a few years later, he was fully canceled because
uh-huh,
it came out that he had committed sexual misconduct
yeah,
with, actresses, I think, and
yeah.
employees. And a friend of mine put it very well when he said, Joss, feminism 101, don't fuck your employees.
Uh-huh. Huh. What? What? Ah,
So yeah, that's what happened to Joss Whedon.
huh?
And now,
Uh,
Neil Gaiman is reaping what he hath sown as far as sexual
uh,
misconduct. And again, it's something
uh,
that I try my best to stay out of.
yeah,
People, what I see as the biggest problem is that not enough people are reaping the consequences of their actions. Some people are being
yeah.
lionized for
Preach.
the same reasons that other people are being
Well,
dragged through the mud.
Well, I feel like uh Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction, but example, right? Yeah.
Example of
Of people who should be dragged through the mud.
the
And
president.
well, yeah, I mean,
You know, like
let's
how the
talk.
hell did this person get reelected? How the hell
Yeah,
did someone who cheated on his wife with a
yeah,
sex worker,
right.
nothing against sex workers, but the
Right.
right tends to find them, you know,
Yeah,
unacceptable. He
right.
did that. Um, he screwed up, the original pandemic. It sowed misinformation that was
Yeah,
uh, so easily contradicted, like
yeah,
people eating dogs and cats. Like
right.
it blows my mind that so many people were ready to throw throw their vote behind that person. Uh, and that is someone who is not reaping the consequences of what they've sown. They're being lionized for it
Well, by whom?
by the right.
By the right, but so yeah, and he's kind of normalized, murder now. He's like we're living in the worst timeline. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely like rock bottom, complete
Well,
fucking insanity.
we had already normalized murder a
Yeah,
while ago with all the shootings in America.
right,
That that was there was a point where I was like, okay, if anything's going to push me to expatriate, it would be the fact that we've normalized murder of children.
right. Yeah,
Um, and if the Supreme Court ever repealed same-sex marriage, those are
yeah,
two things that would drive me out. Seems like the Supreme Court has said their final word on same-sex marriage. So
yeah,
yeah, that's even the new court
yeah.
with its, hyper majority. Anyway, let's talk more about me.
Of course. Yeah. Let's ask you some questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, well, uh, you've described yourself as genre fuck or genre punk. How do you see genre boundaries today?
I mean, I could intellectualize it and say that genre is, a result of capitalism. It's a result of classism in, academic publishing as well as popular publishing. Really, I just, genre is shorthand. It's for people who are trying to sell something,
Yeah.
and I love selling my work, but I don't want to. I mean, like alchemy, like my favorite capital W weird stuff is when people apply a scientific process to things that are magical or, utterly absurd.
Hmm.
Uh, and, is that science fiction? Is it fantasy? Well, I mean, the Small Spec Book Awards categorized it as fantasy and it won.
Yeah.
So cool.
Congratulations.
Fantasy. Thank you.
One love. Jazz hands. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, sure, it can be fantasy.
Yeah.
It's I would rather that my work mean something to individuals than it be easy to categorize. And that does seem to be the way that things are panning out. So that's great.
Right. Well, at the same time, you won an award for it, and you have an incredible blurb from, Anne Vandermeer, which I'm a little jealous of, yeah, so wow. Oh, incredible. So let's talk about was it like, well, the great Susie Bright, aka Susie Sexpert, and coined gender fuck, which is one
Mm.
of my favorite, terms. And what is that hors de combat? That means not in combat. I don't know. I don't know why I wanted to throw in a little French there.
Hmm.
It just doesn't make any sense. But neurospiciness,
Hmm.
is
You know,
is a big thing with me.
you,
Um,
we can throw a little French on anything.
yeah, right.
I'll eat
Yeah.
anything with bechamel on it.
Oh, hello. So, uh, so I was asking about uh, uh, so genre fuck, and I
Mhm.
think you kind of approached it, but we didn't really get into the the toothsome meat of it.
Yes. Well, yeah, I do think about genre fuck coming out of my understanding of gender fuck.
Right.
And I was a club kid in the aughts. And I did a lot of that, very New York club kid gender fuck, gender punk kind of drag where the goal is not to pass, the goal is to get attention. Uh,
Yeah.
and that was a lot of fun in Miami in the
Yeah.
aughts. Uh, and I brought that sensibility with me into my written work.
Oh,
You know,
oh,
it, Mhm.
I'm sorry, and this is just like I'm Candy is a train wreck today, but
You keep
I
asking me these questions,
yes,
and what are
right,
you gonna
yeah.
show me, Candy?
Okay, so this is actually my cousin. Yeah, so yeah, her name is Bibi Hansen. She's
Okay.
the mother of Beck, and
Okay.
she was Andy Warhol superstar. This is her book about the factory.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so um, and this
And,
is her with Warhol. I mean, we're talking about like, and or I'm sorry, with Edie Sedgwick.
mm.
Yeah, so I'm sorry because I was just thinking, that the whole idea of kind of being gender fluid, but sort of doing it, badly is very Warhol,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, to quote John Waters, or probably just to paraphrase John Waters, thank God for Andy Warhol, who finally
right.
put gays and drugs on the screen together where they always belong. I think about that with Clive. Like, thank God
Wow,
for Clive Barker putting
thank you.
S&M and horror together.
Right.
Everyone could see it.
Yes.
And S&M as an aspect of the horror genre,
Yeah.
that's Clive didn't invent that. That's
Right.
been around since at least Dracula,
Of course.
the novel. But
Yeah.
uh, the Cenobites really are a watershed moment
Right.
in
Yeah.
horror iconography.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think about people like, okay, so my number one idol in life has been David Bowie. And here's a person who,
Yeah.
worked with Burroughs and the
Right. Yeah.
Punks and
Right.
all of
Right.
these
Right. Right.
wonderful people. Um,
We just put out the David Bowie book. You just missed it.
I
Yeah.
did.
But yeah. Oh well.
I was gonna, but then I didn't.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had I've had a
That's okay.
few big big things on my plate lately.
That's what she wanted. But
Yeah.
so sorry. Yeah.
No, but Bowie was never limited by medium or genre.
Hmm.
And I don't want to be limited by medium or genre either. I
Yeah.
want to be able to work in different media, but I also want to be able to blur the line between media. When I was doing a lot of poetry, it was very much meant to be performed. Like the
Yeah.
persona that I put on for the book trailer for Skin Job,
Yeah.
I was you know dressed up like that, doing that character, around the country. Not
Nice.
that far around the country, but
Yeah. Yeah.
not just in Seattle, but Miami and New York
Yeah.
and Portland. Um, yeah, and so the performative nature of it and the visual nature of it was very important to that body of work, the
Right.
metaflash body of work.
Yeah.
And I just and now I work in games where I get to do interactive fiction and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's great.
So tell me about the drag queen RPG.
I'm so fucking proud of that. I was like, how has no one made an RPG where you can create your own drag persona? And I had an opportunity with the company Choice of Games. A friend of mine from Clarion West introduced me to his friend who is an editor, and now she's my editor at Choice of Games,
Nice.
Mary Duffy. Hi, Mary. And Mary's great. She's so easy to work with and so thoughtful and supportive as an editor. And at first, I was starting to pitch a horror game. And then I said, okay, I have this other idea that I'm super passionate about. And she fought for it to be greenlit. And that's where Dragstar
Nice.
happened. And yeah, it is, as far as I know, the world's first drag RPG. To the point where some of the beta testers who were going through and looking for bugs and
Yeah.
looking for problems with the game, like one guy got all the way to the end of chapter one without realizing that this was drag performance and
Uh-huh.
not drag racing.
Oh,
And I was like,
oh,
I don't
oh,
think
the
this.
irony.
Yeah, like I'm reading his comments and
Yeah.
he's like, wow, there are a lot of transgender characters in this game. And
Hello.
that's okay. I'm not saying
Right.
there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying it's unusual. And then he gets to the end of chapter one, he's like, oh, that kind of drag. And I was like, you can't write this.
You
This is
could.
so good. So good.
That's something out of Cheers or Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's uh, that's
Or
hilarious.
yeah, or 30 Rock,
Yeah.
maybe even.
Hey, so what's your friend's name again, the editor?
Mary Duffy.
Mary Duffy. I want to talk to her about making a Candy Fontaine RPG. You know, people would love that.
I mean, the Choice of Games as a company is always looking for writers.
Yeah.
So, check out their call on their site,
Okay.
pitch them something.
Okay, cool.
Right now, I'm trying so hard to finish off my next RPG, which is
Right.
about superheroes, which is
Nice.
pretty much the same as writing drag queens. They're
Right.
like
Yeah.
superheroes, drag queens. They're
Are, are
practically the
are
same.
identical. So it's kind of reminds me that you were also talking about well, we're talking about like, queers and like iconic queers, Rob Halford from Judas Priest,
Yeah.
right? I had so many, I had friends back in high school who were real homophobes and the Judas Priest was like their go-to band, right? And you know, they were like constantly using, gay slurs and such. It's like, oh my God, 1990, right? the the uh the uh the Advocate, right? They have got Clive Barker and Halford comes out at the same time, and all these, kind of homophobic, metal fans are like, "Oh, dude, am I gay?" Yeah, yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, it's not a bad thing at all. Um, I remember like this 1982 is my first concert, right? Judas Priest at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. And I remember looking around and thinking, is Judas Priest, are they like gay? Because all the leather, right? And I was like, I made the connection very early on. He's coming out, he's a full-on leather daddy, man. And he's doing it in plain sight,
Yeah.
right? He's got the whip, he's got the shades, he's got the hat, he's just like
Hmm.
full on like S&M, you know and he's commanding, he's dominating the audience, thousands of people. He's just got them in his grip,
In
man.
his greasy fist.
His greasy fist. Holy shit. Remember there was a promotional poster for Ram It Down, which was pretty much like, God fisting Earth. It's like he's been doing this
Oh.
shit forever and
Mhm.
nobody noticed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Certain people, they come out and you're like, of
Of
course, like,
course.
of course Elvira is
Yeah.
gay.
Of
Of
course,
course
Elvira.
she
Yeah.
is.
Of course she is.
You know?
Yeah.
Come on.
And
She's a female drag queen.
I was just remember when like yeah, so I asked, actually I asked Poppy Bright, in 95, in kind of I interviewed him for the for Death Realm magazine,
Mhm.
and it was at the Atlanta World Horror Convention, and they actually had to seal off the entire floor because Poppy was so like iconic, and
Wow.
I don't know. So I he had to buzz me in, and Caitlin was next door, and that was wild. So and so I said, hey, so what do you think of Clive Barker coming out? And he said, I think everybody already knew.
I mean, reading the books of blood
Yeah,
as a teenager and then a young adult, I
yeah,
was like, and in my psyche, Clive had already been out
yeah,
publicly
right,
uh, by the time I began reading his work.
right.
But looking through, I'm like, there's a lot of queer people
Right,
in the book
exactly.
of blood,
Yeah,
like I mean the what is it? Is it Human Remains, where the main character is a gay sex worker?
right. Hello.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Mhm.
and also I was just thinking, like, oh yeah, uh, he remember, and in was it Lord of Illusions, which stars Scott Bakula, and
Mhm.
it's full on like gay male gaze. It's like, hello, here's some
Mhm.
scrumptious,
Yeah.
shirtless, Scott Bakula, it's
Well, and Nightbreed,
a
you know,
Nightbreed, right?
I had the
Yeah.
great pleasure and honor of interviewing Clive
Oh,
uh,
nice,
over
nice.
several days.
Oh, hey, hey, hang on. So is that, do you have that? I mean, is that something that I could use?
How you want to use it, Candy?
Well, you know, how much time do
Um,
you have? How much time do you have? So,
so
but yeah, yeah,
the interview
yeah,
was published in the Southeast Review probably in 2009.
yeah.
So it is way, under my copyright. Like,
Okay.
yeah, no one other than me has the rights to that. So I have that interview that I can send to you.
Oh
Uh,
my God.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God.
if you're interested, I have my nonfiction critique of William Burroughs as queer body horror from
Yeah.
the Queers Destroy Horror anthology that Wendy Wagner put together over at
When
Nightmare
so
Magazine.
Okay, so yeah, I could definitely. So what I'm going to just say, and this is sight unseen. I very rarely do this, but there are a few people. There are very few people. You've been pre-vetted. It's sort of like Craig
Well, thank you.
Thomas at Harvard. He is the brother of Jeff Thomas, right? And he he has archived two of my books at the Widner Library because
Hell yeah.
he's the chief librarian at Harvard. And I asked him because he was interested in my work, and I said, well, I've been, I've gotten, like endorsed by, John Shirley. He's like, don't worry about it. You've been pre-vetted. And I was like, really? Okay, so I don't have to roll out my credentials. So, you've been pre-vetted. I mean, just from what I've seen when I'm talking to you, and the fact that you've been endorsed by the likes of Anne Vandermeer, I mean, yeah, man, yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
you're
I've
in.
worked
So
I've worked really hard for a really long time to get to
yeah,
this point
I know
where I
you. I
can
know you have.
email Anne and
Right.
say, Anne, if you
Yeah.
have a moment, could you please
Yeah.
blurb my first novel? And
Right.
then she did.
That
And
is so beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she's been really, really good to me for
Yeah.
years. And just having her name on something gets me an in with
Right.
folks like you, folks like the Occult Detective
Oh, right.
series over on YouTube.
Right.
He was like, never heard of Evan Peterson, but I sure do like Anne
And
Vandermeer and
Vandermeer.
Amadeus,
Yeah.
who blurbed this book. So here we
Right.
go.
Exactly. Right. And here we are
Here we are.
talking. Yeah. So, um, let's see now. So yes, this reminds, I'm just, I can't help it. I'm neurodivergent, I have a brain injury, and so everything revolves around like things that excite me. And I just remembered, I was had an interview with Chiton Damone in back in the 90s. And I was just sort of excited because I just done an interview with this filmmaker named Maria Beatty. And I'm sure you're familiar with Maria Beatty. It's very, very kind of controversial, steamy, hot, kind of queer erotica. And
Can you tell me the names of some of her
um,
works?
yeah, the the something well, just look her up, and so we'll say
Maria
some
Beatty?
Beatty, Beatty.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm so excited because Chatan's into that kind of stuff, and I was sort of like, yeah, hey, I just talked to Maria Beatty, and I'm going on, and she's trying to be polite, and eventually she says, could we ask me another question about myself? And I'm like, sorry, Chatan Damone, punk, punk goddess. But later, after the interview, she gave me a squeezy hug. So I'm all about the squeezins, and I've been squeezy hugged by the best. I mean, Terry B. Murphy gave me a squeezins. So I'm really proud of that, man.
When we meet in the flesh, I would love
Yes.
to give you a squeezy hug.
Oh, I would love that.
I people people
Yeah.
people tend to enjoy my hugs
Yes.
because I mean them. Like,
Yes. This is
I'm
so
not like a,
great. Yeah, you're
it's not
right.
an
Yeah,
air
it's sort
kiss
of a,
hug. It's like a
or
hi.
or like a sort of a shoulder, the kind of
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah,
shoulder
the
thing,
side hug.
the side
Mhm.
hug. And also I got a peck on the cheek from none other than Caroline Monroe.
Nice.
So, right, like
Mhm.
right there, yeah.
I got a kiss on the lips from Torment from Psychotica.
Oh, nice. I don't even know who that is, but I need that in my life now.
I forget what their daytime name is, but
Yeah.
lead singer of Psychotica, who were this glam goth band in the 90s and aughts. And
Oh, wow.
for a while, it was like every time Torment did something, a year
Yeah.
later, Marilyn Manson was all over the TV doing the same thing. So,
Oh my
for what
God.
that's worth.
Oh my God. Yes. 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 Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson. So like oh God, I promised myself I wouldn't do this, but who cares? Right? Life is short.
Yeah.
La vida es corta. My best friend for nearly, over like, a quarter of a century was Marilyn Manson's PA. So I write
That's a dangerous job.
known as you have no idea. I mean, so she would email me or message me on Facebook and show me, hey, this is a table with a loaded gun, and that's I'm at Manson's right now, and
Mhm.
I'm like these little glimpses, were just awe-inspiring.
I mean, you'd also have gotten that at Burroughs's house, right?
You would have, yes.
But
You would, yeah. Well,
but it's a different context.
let's talk about, okay, this is a controversial subject that isn't stupid like talking about people attempting to cancel Caitlyn. Um, so gun ownership, which I
Mhm.
think I am a firm advocate of not, military grade weapons that are designed to kill a whole bunch of people in a frighteningly swift period of time, but I'm talking about like self-defense
Oh
with
yeah, like pink pistols.
like a hells yeah.
Yeah.
Oh hells yeah. So I mean, did you know about the Gulabi gang? like the in India, there are these like these lower caste women who got together, banded together, and basically beat up spousal abusers.
I love that.
I love that so much. Yeah. Right? Like, why not? Burroughs was always talking about like there should be a gay police, there should be gay cops who would like, you know,
Hmm.
right?
Well, I believe that people on the police force should be patrolling their own neighborhoods.
Right.
Like maybe we would have less police brutality
Yeah,
if the police officers in the ghetto actually lived there and looked like the people they were
they're
beating
right.
up
Yeah.
or shooting, um, or wherever, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm woefully uninformed on the nuances of all this, but
Yeah.
yeah, the Pink Pistols are the queer group within the NRA.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it does take me back to Burroughs saying like, yeah, if someone tries to fag bash you, you blow them away. And I'm like, oh, give guns to trans women.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Every trans woman should get a free gun.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So a queer candidate, for example, like, the old thing about a chicken in every pot or whatever,
Mhm.
and a pink pistol to every trans woman.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Oh, did you
Oh,
ever see, speaking of Bill, did you ever see Commissioner of Sewers, the documentary where
I
he said
don't think I've
he
seen that
he
one.
wanted to be like he wanted to run for political office so he could be the commissioner of sewers for St. Louis.
Oh,
Aw, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean that sounds fun. I
yeah.
mean, Commissioner of Sewers, that also sounds like a very Antonin Artaud or
Thank you.
Charles Baudelaire type of
Thank you.
type
Okay.
of job.
So
Like,
yes, so let's talk about which is also the name of one of my favorite Bauhaus songs. I work with David J. Haskins, yes. Um, Antonin Artaud.
the Indians wank on his bones.
Wanking his bones, you know. Um, those Indians wanking his bones. That's how I got in touch with David J. So because he's a self-described Burroughs obsessive,
Mm,
and I wrote to him through his website. And I was like, not thinking that he would ever respond to me, Kandy Fontaine. I was like, David J. Haskins from Bauhaus and Love and Rockets. None of us are, you know, okay, so, obeisance, but I was friends with Jeremy Reed, his friend and, the poet laureate of England, and I was like, hey, so John Shirley says I'm the Baudelaire of our time, got his attention. And I'm like, hey, so um, I know you're a big Burroughs fan, to put it mildly. I'm working on a Burroughs tribute anthology. Would you send me something? He sent me an original poem.
mm,
He wrote it within like 2 days, and he's like, "Will this do?" And I was like, "So I'm hallucinating freely at this point." I was like, "So is this an acid flashback from the 90s? Right? Did I just get an email from, David J?"
yeah,
Yes, yes, I did. Yes, that
yeah,
happened. That occurred. So
yes.
thank you, David J. Haskins. We're all grateful, profoundly grateful for you
Mhm.
for so many reasons. Shout out to David J. I'm so thrilled that I get to say things like that.
Yeah,
And I'm not insane. Well,
yeah.
much, right?
It's it's a beautiful thing
It's a
when
beautiful thing.
your idols, when you get to meet or contact your idols and
Yeah.
they continue to be idol worthy.
Right. Idol worthy. Yes.
Yeah. Clive
So
Barker,
Clive Barker.
like, so so Clive Barker doesn't type. Everything he does is written by hand.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I had contacted his agents, and they said, okay, well, we'll run it by him that you want to interview him for for this academic literary magazine. And he called me.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like I was having like Beatlemania, but it was Barker mania. And
Oh my
picked up the
God.
phone and he's like, "Hello, uh, have I reached Evan Peterson?"
Oh my
And
God.
uh, and so because he doesn't type, he said, "Well, I would love to have you out to LA to conduct an interview in person." And, I immediately started like pulling every string to make sure I could fly out to LA, have a place to stay, have access to transportation, and then go hang out with Clive Barker for the day.
So like
And it
like
was
no
gorgeous. It was glorious.
NBD, right? No big deal.
Yeah.
Like you are the you goddess. So yes,
Thank you.
yes. Wow. 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 Was he fabulous?
So
You
fabulous
know what I mean?
and so genteel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I posed for some photography
Oh,
and
nice.
watched him paint. We spent
Holy
a lot of time
Toledo.
together
Nice.
doing various
Beautiful.
activities.
So beautiful.
And whereas I had posed and even posed nude for
Nice.
other gay photographers,
Yeah.
he never made a pass at me. Not
Yeah.
once. Never touched me in a
Yeah.
place that I didn't approve. He was the pinnacle of a gentleman. And I just will always associate him with that, as well as, his very bloody erotic horror. He's a complete person and a complicated person, and I love him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful thing. So we're going to be republishing your Clive Barker interview
Cool.
and your piece, whatever it happens to be. We're going to put your piece in our book.
Love
We're,
it. Thank
you know
you.
what I mean? You
Well,
know,
I gave you a couple of my favorites to
yeah.
choose from.
Yeah, so yeah, yeah, wow, cool. Holy shit, I'm so fortunate. I'm so privileged. I'm
Me too.
fascinated. It's just beautiful thing, man. So let's see. Let's look at some of my questions that I prepared for you so we can use the time efficiently. So is this true? Okay, talk about did we talk about metaflesh at all?
A little bit. You
Okay,
know,
let's talk
in
some more about metaflesh. What is a metaflesh, and how can I acquire some?
so Metaflesh is
Yeah.
is a poetry collection of mine. It's
Hmm.
all told from the viewpoint of Dr. Frankenstein's creature,
Of course.
who, much as they have several different
Hmm.
parts, physical
Oh yeah.
parts,
Yeah.
that make up their
Hmm.
body, I
Right.
also see them having several different voices in their psyche.
Okay.
And I imagine the creature having an intersex body
Hmm.
that, the doctor put together for his own
Yeah.
amusement. And I was exercising some pretty serious inner demons when I was writing that. There's a lot of stuff that, well, I connected to the monster and the novel shortly after being sexually assaulted in
I'm so
college.
sorry. Squeezins.
Squeezins. These things happen to the best of us.
Yeah.
But I connected to the monster on that level of people were doing stuff to his body, with his body, without any consent whatsoever. Uh, seeing the monster as just parts to work with
Hmm.
rather than as a conscious being. And that led me to connect further outward with, my lifelong love of body horror, my not so lifelong, more adult, prurient interest in medical fetishism.
Oh,
Yeah. So, there's some,
Oh,
there's definitely some Cronenberg,
well,
Dead Ringers influence in there.
you and Billy Martin need to, you know, need to talk. And if you
Would love
haven't
to talk to
already,
Billy.
yes, yes, Billy is a beautiful man. Yes, so I think that's fascinating because it gets into also that kind of references, Caitlin R. Kiernan, right? This whole idea of body alienation, and also this gets into, queer identity and body, dysmorphia or whatever. And so I kind of experienced, I didn't even know this was a thing, right? But I experienced, kind of gender euphoria. So you don't hear that about that enough. I almost feel bad about it because I'm like, well, so many people, like so many of my dear friends have undergone, gender dysphoria, and I'm just like, I'm loving my body as exactly as it is.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I also like to use the term gender euphoric, but
yeah,
because I was gender dysphoric
right,
as a kid and a young adult, and then when it was actually a trans friend who helped me to understand, getting back to gender fuck and gender
right,
fluidity. Like
exactly, yeah,
I can I can do this my way.
right,
I don't need I don't need to transition unless I want to. I
right,
don't need to have a binary
yeah,
one or the other. I can have it all, and you know, uh, I can have it all and still pass
right,
for cis male and all the
yeah,
privilege that comes with that.
yeah,
Like that's, just to acknowledge the privilege that I have
yes, it's a beautiful
as
thing.
someone who can
Yeah.
and does present cis male most of the time.
Right. I want to, at this point, I want to give four shout outs.
Mhm.
So, Lyric Lark Rivera, aka Neurodivergent Rebel, Squeezy Hugs, Lasara Firefox Allen, the best-selling author of Sexy Witch, A Squeezins, Billy Martin, best known by his long-term pen name Poppy Z Bright,
Squeeze.
Warm Squeezy Hugs, Hi Billy, and Caitlin R. Kiernan. So yeah, we love you. We love you. Okay. Back to, better living through alchemy. So I immediately got that you're probably into Jodorowsky. Can we talk about, Alejandro Jodorowsky? We were going to actually reference. Oh, so going back to Artaud, Artaud. Let's talk about like example of somebody who revolutionized the the what plays could be. I mean, especially in the theater when it's double, where he talked
Mhm.
about you know the the um the uh the mass exorcism of audiences, and I think Jim Morrison kind of adapted a lot of this stuff too, where you could kind of like by he used the example of sort of tying the audience to a pole or something and basically like terrorizing them and sort of
Mhm.
it goes like you had Aristotle with the like what was it the um uh help me out, Aristotle and the tragedy as the sort of identification with the tragic hero, but and catharsis through
Okay.
pity and terror, I think, pity and terror. And then so,
That's
but
not that's not part of my knowledge wheelhouse yet.
okay, yes,
So I can't
yeah,
help you too much with that
there
specific
there
topic,
there's
but
still time. Well,
mhm.
Aristotle, but so that was kind of like the whole idea was a very kind of classical notion of of catharsis, right? That a purgation of emotions through identification with the tragic hero, yada yada yada. However, what Artaud did was say we can basically drama can be like total psychotherapy. It can be like a completely immersive experience. We can like fuck with your head. This is almost
Mhm.
like a cult, programming or something. And it's a precursor, a direct precursor of word virus,
Mm.
right? Or Genesis P. Orridge, right? Which
Genesis.
verges on a little bit of a culty thing, but there's some Genesis
You
was
know,
problematic, but
I I I love the folks who can be, mostly harmless and
yeah,
have that cult of personality
yeah,
as a rock star or,
right,
similar. They
yeah,
don't become a demagogue.
right,
And I don't know the extent of Genesis's issues, and but I know that Genesis was in trouble with the law, and
yeah,
that like I think their kids were taken away at one point because they let their kids be photographed nude for a music video.
right,
Um, yeah, so I don't think anyone, as far as I know, was actually harming those kids. They just were put on film without clothes on,
right.
which, like, ugh, how prurient do you have to be to apply sex to a naked child?
Yeah, pretty prurient, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
censors see what they want to see.
yeah,
But yeah, I love this idea of, the fan cult, as long as it's a benevolent cult. I think you have to
yeah,
have a charismatic leader in order to
yeah.
be considered a cult, but there are a few harmless cults out there.
Right, like the cult of the Bob, right,
Yeah,
right, and my cult, the Candy Fontaine cult, which
yeah.
is actually the Candyverse.
The
Yeah, the
Cavs.
Candyverse, right? Candy, would you like to see my candy? Yeah, man. So let's talk about what else can we talk about? Because
Well, I
yeah,
reference Artaud in Metaflesh.
okay, so we're
Yeah,
still talking about Metaflesh.
we can
Now
talk about
that
whatever.
that is awesome. So those Indians wank on his bones. Okay, so yeah,
I mean,
man.
I don't reference those lyrics
Yeah, well,
in there, but
but
Artaud as a thinker and as a figure,
yeah.
I read his work at the time for, part of the inspiration and the grist for the mill, and
I'm
just
trying to
looking at
see if I
his.
have my Anton and Artaud anthology here. Yeah, it's right above my station here.
Yeah, I was in an electro punk band in grad school,
Get
and
out.
yeah, and we did
G
a
G
lot with.
GTFO. Yeah.
I mean, I could, but no, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I played the theremin badly, and uh, my co-conspirator, he did almost all of the composition, but I had a hand in the aesthetic of how the songs would turn out. And we did a couple of performance pieces based on Artaud and Burroughs, and just the idea of cutting up something live and making it. And it was a lot of fun. It
I
was, it
love it.
was,
I
it
love
was
it.
great fun.
The idea of cutting up something live. Your voice, your intonation patterns are very Billy Martin.
Are they?
Yes, this whole thing, it's hard to it's
I've
hard
never
to
heard him speak.
it's hard to kind of um duplicate it, but it's sort of like this whole thing of like talking like that,
Mm,
with a sort of like a little rasp, a sort of, drawing it out. It's also a Southern drawl thing, but it's like,
mm,
it's like that. You do that,
yeah.
which
It's
is amazing. I love it. I
I
want I
yeah, I
want to
mean I
bottle it, and take it out and
is it like the southern version of vocal fry?
okay, yes, I think
Is
it
it?
is. I think it
Okay.
is. I think it is. I think it is.
I mean,
Yeah, you know.
Billy and I are both swamp monsters. I
Yeah,
lived my entire life in Florida till I was 27
nice.
years old. So, yeah.
And it really helped. I remember just associating like it's almost like and Billy's a huge foodie, so I think of this as like cuisine, right? Like enjoying somebody's speech patterns, you know. So
Mhm.
he once told me, he said, it's it's like, politics in New Orleans. You have to laugh, otherwise you'll be crying all the time.
Mm.
I'm like, I love you, Billy Martin. Poppy Zebright at the time was like gorgeous. I mean, he is he's a cuddly man, he's a cuddly man, a small man.
There's
Yeah,
that iconic picture back when
right.
he was Poppy,
Yeah.
like naked on a couch with ferrets.
I know, right? Yeah.
Like I need a portrait like that,
Okay,
you
so
know, ferrets as accessories.
ferrets as so I need to can I steal that? Ferrets as
Sure,
accessories.
sure. I mean,
Ferrets
Billy did it
as
first.
accessories. I'm
I
gonna
mean,
write a
yeah,
chapbook. Okay, this is one of my drawings I'm just playing around with. So I put it ferrets as
ferrets as
accessories.
accessories. Yeah. I mean, what's the difference between a ferret and an ermine stole?
That sounds like a very gay joke with a kind of a ribald
Right.
punchline. So
Uh,
what is that? Like
well, I mean, people kill and skin ermine to
yeah.
make, to make accessories. So, why not
Yeah.
just leave the damn thing alive and let it crawl all over you?
Yeah, hell yeah. What you were saying something about the deliciously macabre.
Hmm.
Deliciously macabre.
Yes.
So, what is an example of the deliciously macabre?
Any, so from a synesthetic perspective,
Yes.
you know, anything so dark and bizarre that you either want to eat it or fuck it.
Oh yeah.
Like Morticia Adams is
Yeah.
deliciously macabre
Mm.
for sure, and
Yeah, for sure, for
the
sure, for
Cenobites are
sure.
deliciously macabre.
Yeah.
I think the Thing,
The thing.
Carpenter's The Thing,
Yeah.
probably counts. I like my monsters squishy and
Okay,
playful
so hey, so
and cozy.
are you familiar with the genre of monster fucking?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, what about house fucking? So that's something that one of my transgender friends was is doing, like house fucking, the genre house fucking.
So,
No. So
like
not.
actually making love to the building and the furniture and stuff.
Well, I think
Or,
yeah, maybe. So, yeah, yeah.
I mean, they did that in Pink Flamingos,
Okay. So
where they lick all the furniture.
yes, ferrets as accessories. The new chapbook by Kandy Fontaine.
Do it.
Dedicated to Evan J. Peterson.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And Billy Martin,
And Billy
you
Martin,
know,
yes.
inspired
Inspired.
by Quip.
Yes. So, yes. Um,
Well, I think this is the
yeah,
beginning of a long and beautiful friendship,
I
Candy.
I do. I so endorse that sentiment. Um, yeah, there's so much to talk about. What
We've been at it for an hour and a half.
will I mean, your husband is okay with this, right?
Uh,
No,
He's
just kidding.
he's at work.
That's a joke. Oh, tee hee. So if you want to wrap it up, as it were, that's fine too.
You don't need a swimsuit. Just go in the pool in your underwear, Candy.
Okay, so remember that dish was a dishwashing detergent commercial about you're soaking in it. It's
I
like
think that's
what the
Palmolive.
what is palm olive? It's like what it sounds very gay.
Yeah,
This sort of reminds me of like okay, so T. Liam McDonald in Cemetery Dance wrote a scathing review of Lost Souls, in which he said, among other things, you know, more. um, more, enough clove cigarettes to choke Peter Murphy. And then he said, "Why does Poppy Z. Brite insist on, you know, shoving homosexuals down our throat?" To which Poppy replied, "Well, just close your mouth and they won't get in." Right?
Love you, Poppy.
You love you, Poppy.
Yeah,
And,
I mean it's like they set that up for
right?
Poppy to
Yeah.
slam it down.
Yeah. Or, ram it down
Yeah.
in the words of Rob Halford, ram it down.
Did you ever hear Pansy Division's version of Breaking the Law?
No.
Yeah, Pansy Division did a version of Breaking the Law, and it was breaking the sodomy law. I always wanted Pansy Division to have more songs that were just, about other punk things, not just gay sex. But, that was their
Um,
oath.
right. Yeah, so oh, Susan Sontag.
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 Notes on Camp.
Yes, Notes on Camp. How would you, so let's update Notes on Camp while we have you on the Candy Fontaine
Okay.
show.
Okay.
So, um, what would camp consist? Has camp changed?
Well, of course.
Is there meta camp now?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, okay,
absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, camp is right. It's a sensibility. It's not a genre.
right,
It's it's not easy to define. It's much easier to give examples than to
right,
define it.
exactly,
But if camp really starts to be committed to print and committed to um, recorded
right,
culture
right,
in the Victorian era with people like Oscar Wilde, if
right.
that's our first glimpse into recorded camp, um, yep, Oscar Wilde, Oscar Wilde, David Bowie, Andy Warhol,
Yeah, Andy Warhol.
three fellas whose greatest work of art was their persona. I
Yeah,
aspire to that. I want my work to be as good as any persona I'd create, but I
right.
also want like the Evan J. Peterson project to
So
be.
the yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I think that's fascinating because we are both engaged in the process of a work of art which is also a persona inspired by Andy Warhol and Burroughs and you know the other greats, Hollywood Lawn, Candy Darling, you know Candy, yes, Candy. Pauline James, who was actually I knew through my friend, the late great Jordan Gallagher, was actually dated him, and so yeah, Jordan Gallagher was the basis of, rest in peace, Jordan Gallagher was the basis of the Jordan Cochran character in Real Genius.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Huh.
yeah, and she was also bisexual. So yeah, she's dead now, unfortunately. We've kind of revived her through things like reprinting some of her very rare poetry in like the
Hmm.
the the Burroughs book and the Bowie tribute. So rest in peace, gentle friend.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah,
Yeah, camp.
yeah, camp.
Um, well, we're at the point, we're at the point where, sure, the Met Gala
Yeah,
recently, their theme was camp,
yeah.
their gala, and I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Cynthia Erivo's partner, whose name, whose name dropped out of my brain. Let
Uh-huh.
me look
Okay.
it up. Uh, Lena Waithe.
Uh-huh.
I believe Lena Waithe wore something to the Met Gala, and it was emblazoned with the words "Camp was created by Black people."
Yeah.
And and I don't think that that's historically accurate. Like
No.
I would really like to see the notes and the receipts on that.
Right? Yeah, okay.
But certainly, you know, mainstream
Right.
white straight culture has
Yes.
mercilessly stolen from the amazing things Black people have created. Now, as far as like voguing and the ballroom scene,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is a
yeah.
queer Black thing.
Right.
That was Black gay men and Black
Right.
trans women.
Yeah,
So
right.
100%. But camp, like,
Also, also camp is not invented.
eh,
Right. I mean,
there is that.
camp is something, it's a sensibility, like you say. It is something that is pretty much, you can't create it. I mean, you can't set up like
It's often an accident.
All About Evil is a perfect example of camp, but it's good. Like much camp
Mhm.
is just horrible, but
Mhm.
it's delicious, like it's a car crash, it's an accident. Um,
And
yeah,
I think that camp is always always fan driven and
right.
audience driven. The
Yeah.
reason that Showgirls is a cultural icon
Yes.
is not for any of the reasons or efforts that Paul Verhoeven or poor Elizabeth Berkley put
Yes.
into it. It's
Yeah.
because queers love it, and because people like David Schmader, my buddy David, he's a Seattleite.
Yeah.
David went on the road, narrating live showings
Oh,
of
nice.
Showgirls. And so when it came time to do like the deluxe DVD,
Yeah.
he thought he was getting a cease and desist letter from MGM, but actually they wanted him to do the DVD commentary.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But that arises from the fans. The
Yeah.
same reason that Rocky Horror Picture Show
Yeah. Thank you.
is a 50-year phenomenon and is
Right.
still giving. It's still giving. But the studio could not force that with Mommy Dearest.
Right.
I've heard from John Waters, among other people, that when they realized what a turkey and what a flop Mommy Dearest was, but how popular it was with the gays and the camp crowd,
Right. Yeah.
they tried to turn it into the next Rocky Horror
Yeah.
Picture Show by having drag queens handing out coat hangers.
Right.
It didn't work because it
Didn't
has to
work.
be the fans
Yes.
who create that, who establish that. You cannot make something go viral.
No. Have you ever seen Dr. Caligari?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
okay, okay.
original or the 80s
A
version?
foolish question.
The
The
original
eight
or the 80s version? Because
Both,
I've seen both.
yeah, but the guy Jerry Stahl version. Yeah, the Jerry Stahl, aka what Rinse Dream. I think he went under Rinse Dream, right? Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually did an homage to Jerry Stahl called Dr. Flesh, which is a combination of Cafe Flesh and Dr. Caligari. And it also has a trans, protagonist.
Delightful.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
there are straight folks. There are straight men who do
yeah.
camp, and it's pitch perfect.
Hmm.
One person would be Rob Zombie.
Okay, yes.
I I mean,
Yeah,
Rob Zombie's understanding of camp, and your reference to Dr. Caligari made me think of this.
right.
His video for Living Dead Girl, which is
Living
this
Dead Girl.
amazing,
Right?
amazing homage to
Yes,
Dr. Caligari.
exactly. Yeah,
Uh,
it is. From
yeah,
from
it's
from
it's some,
the stovepipe hat to the yeah,
and
everything is
sometimes it's shot for shot. It
right.
is
Yeah.
so similar.
Yeah.
And his first movie, House of a Thousand Corpses,
Right.
I didn't think it was scary. Sorry, Rob, but
No,
I thought it was a camp masterpiece.
it is.
Like
Yeah.
here's a dude who grew up with Halloween
Right.
in like plastic Halloween and
Right.
you know is, making music about invoking the devil,
Right,
winking and smiling and wearing a Frankenstein's monster rubber mask while he's doing
right,
it.
right.
And
Yeah.
that's camp to me.
It is, it is. So let's break it down. Let's dissect it. Let's dissect so we have the body is prepared on the table. Um this is camp. This is camp a la Rob Zombie. And Rob Zombie, there's a Rob Zombie, thing behind me. So yeah,
Oh, I see
Rob
it.
Zombie. Um so we have what are the elements that constitute. Can we dissect it without destroying the camp? That's the question. So like you have these
Sontag certainly tries to.
ironic kind of meta references to German expressionist film. You have all of this, the kind of Anthony Burgess stuff, which I really seems to be an obsession with him. He just wholesale kind of appropriates things and puts them together and kind of stirs them up hot. And what's interesting is like I am currently friends with Leslie Spivey, aka Elvorian von Spivey from the band's Penis Flytrap, with you know
Good
Dinah
for her.
Dinah Cancer, right? From 45 Grave is the singer, right? And or was the singer. And what what
Ah, uh,
Dinah
I've heard
Cancer.
the drag queen, uh, the drag queen Willem, uh,
Yeah,
was on some show and played
yeah,
a drag character named Dinah AIDS,
yes.
which is
Nice.
a very Willem character to
A
play. It's a
very
very Willem joke.
Willem
But
joke, yeah.
yeah, Dinah Cancer, love that.
Dinah Cancer. So yeah. So they're also obsessed with Lucio Fulci, the Italian gore master. And so a lot of their music of Penis Flytrap is kind of like a homage to Fulci, really. And so I was talking to I interviewed all of Penis Flytrap, including Dinah Cancer in the early aughts, and then I've revisited that, and I've also interviewed. I actually Lucifer Fulci is one of my contributors, the bass player. He's also the bass player for and founder of Lords of October, which were on tour with Venom Incorporated last year. A lot of metal is camp. Especially like black metal, right? I've got some
Oh yeah.
friends in Norway who are part of these bands like Gorgoroth or whatever. It's total camp.
Yeah, and I saw, when I was doing my research on you, I like that
Right,
we research each other. You
right.
know, I saw that
Yeah,
you're acquainted with Danny Filth, and
yeah.
like Cradle of Filth is so campy. Like you can't take that shit seriously. I remember
No,
reading a little news clip in like Rolling Stone or something.
yeah.
Danny Filth had accused Marilyn Manson of being a poser. Like, he doesn't live this. This is just a character he takes off at night.
You
You
know,
know,
you know, you
I'm,
know, you know
I'm
what?
full-time Danny Filth. And
Yeah,
Manson gave the perfect response, which
yeah.
was, who is Danny Filth?
Well, beautiful. I gotta love you, Brian. I don't like you in many respects, but I gotta love that. That was a
Take your
sharp,
glasses off if you're gonna do an interview.
right.
Take your sunglasses off, Danny.
So I
Not
this
Danny,
this
Brian.
is okay. So to that point that you made, Evan. So this is my Danny Filth anecdote. I have a number of Danny Filth stories, but this is one of them. Okay, so it's 1998. I was contacted by the Blue Blood people, Amelia G. and Forrest Black, and they wanted me to interview Danny Filth for Blue Blood, right?
Yeah.
And so they were going to like do the cover shot, and then they had done the cover shot of Terry B. Murphy from my magazine, Juggernaut, and they set it up because they're the best, you know. And so I could take Terry B off my wall, but she's looking at me with her bat wings now. And so we went to the hotel where this was Cradle of First Filth's first North American appearance.
Mm.
And we hung out with the band. We hung out with like Nick Barker. All these people are no longer with the band. John Pyers is no longer with the band. The guitarist Nick Barker went on to join Dimmu Borgir, or Dimmu Burger, um, and so then we're hanging out, and I asked their publicist, who I had a brief fling with, whatever, who also was a publicist for Dio. I was like,
Oh yeah.
hey, person redacted name, why aren't we talking to Danny? And she said, well, he's primping. And I said, he's pimping. He's pimping. And so then she did not have any sense of humor whatsoever. Neither did Danny. So finally we are escorted. We are,
Mm.
into the sanctum sanctorum, if you will. And I had a copy of, I was friends with and collaborator with the late Nancy Kilpatrick.
Mm.
And so I had a copy of Nancy's um, I think it was actually in the Bauhaus anthology. It was her last published piece. It was a reprint from one of her anthologies. But anyway, was it Hope and the Maiden? I think was the piece that we republished in the Bauhaus. And then we republished it in the Goddess anthology. But anyway, so I said, hey, this is we were talking about Poppy Z. Bride because Danny is a fan, but he said, oh, it's pulp, it's pulp. And I said, really, Danny? No, it's literature, man. And he said, well, it's very good pulp. And I said, Danny Filth, that's blasphemy, right? You're talking about Poppy Z. Bride, right? You know, I kind of I didn't care because I don't give a
Would
fuck.
Billy object to being called pulp?
Well, see, that's the thing. So, yeah, but it's Danny Filth, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always one of my biggest inspirations was who was that? Lester Bangs, right? So
Okay.
so starting a fight with Danny Filth so I could write about it, of course, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
But
got you.
yeah, so I said, "Hey, Danny Filth, um, here's a copy of Carmilla, the Carmilla sequel by under Amarantha Knight, right? Nancy Kilpatrick, rest in peace." And I said, "This is a friend of mine." And then Amelia G from Blue Blood said, "Bitch." I was like, "Wow,"
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
damn, man, what happened there, And so, anyway, so he was really, really hungover and jet lagged, and it's like, "Where's the cocaine?" And it's like, and he was having runners. I don't care if he's like, half of Cradle of Filth is suing his ass. So, if he wants to sue me, that's fine.
Yeah.
Bring it on, motherfucker. Anyway, so he's like, "Where's the cocaine?" And he had his PA scurrying around like the Sunset Strip trying to score coke, you know. And I was like, "What? What did I say?"
How
Okay,
hard must one try?
sue me.
Yeah.
Sue me, Danny. I'd like to
Don't sue
sue.
me yet.
Don't sue me. Sumiko Solson is a horror writer. Uh,
Sumiko.
yeah, Sumiko, genderqueer horror author.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sumiko's good.
I, I,
I don't know them very well, but
yeah, I actually got them onto Horror Addicts.
cool.
Yeah,
Sumiko
so
does a lot of work.
a lot of work. Yeah,
That is a hard working
it's a
writer.
hard working writer. Yeah,
And also, I think Sumiko has uh, some kind of position in the Horror Writers Association.
yeah, yeah,
Something
yeah.
is holding office of some kind, I
They
think.
yeah, they did the Pride Voices interviews,
Mm.
including with Billy
Hmm.
Martin last year. So shout out to Samika. Um, so what? Oh yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
the
that too.
yeah, right. So the Danny, he was like very kind of like dismissive. I'd done a ton of research, and to the point where I was always prepared, Lemmy at the end of our Metal Hammer interview in 1999, he said, you don't have any, competition, Alex. I was like, did Lemmy just, say I didn't have any competition? It's like, did that happen? Well, apparently it did. Thank you, God. You know,
Yeah.
you know. But so I was all prepared and I had all these questions. And I sourced it from interviews that I had done with him previously not too long ago. In fact, one of the questions that I had was a follow-up question. It was sort of like this interview that I did with him for it was either Blood Songs or Implosion magazine, which were done by the same publisher. And I asked him, he was very well known in vampire circles, and he talked about this sort of ritual where he drank his own blood. So all this was a follow up, and the interview was done only like a year before. So, but he now this time he's sort of like making like scoffing and making me sound like an idiot. It's sort of, well, it's not very safe, is it? You could, I'm not just going to go out and ask for a little nip, you know. And so he was kind of actually, and I was thinking, you just dissed yourself, man,
Hmm.
because you were the one who came up with this shit, right? Then he said, I asked him about, so he talk about a hypocrite. So he's dissing Marilyn Manson as not being real. Like, so he would always say these things like we want to be like Gilda Ray and murder people, and we would go beyond Gilda Ray.
Rape little children and then shit in their body cavities.
He
Okay,
did an
whatever, Danny Pfeiffer.
entire Godspeed something or whether they did a tribute album to Gilda Ray. So they're badass, right? And then I asked him, he had just had a daughter, right? And I was like, so Denny, I wanted to ask you about your daughter. You just had a daughter. He said, yes, I'm probably gonna, you know, keep her in the basement and molest her. And I was like, oh, how evil, how evil. I'm like, what the actual fuck? So it
That's
came down.
disgusting.
So Amelia G, who is currently a friend of mine, in Forest Black, are nice people, really decent people, and so uh, Amelia and Forrest, who are like iconic photographers and writers and cultural, curators, right? We're obviously setting up the photography, the backdrops and everything for Danny Filth, who's sort of being surly and he kept saying, and finally he sort of burst out, "You're wasting my time." And I'm like, wow. So he didn't even bother to answer some questions. Like I asked him about Aleister Crowley, and he didn't even respond. He was sort of like "Meh," like that, And so finally, it transpired that he didn't want to be photographed because he wasn't in makeup. Now if your core, Danny Field, is so fucking badass,
Hmm.
why do you need makeup?
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah.
obvious. That's a tell on you, man. And now his former bandmates, including three women who were part of Cradle of Filth, are suing him from, among other things, copyright infringement, using their likenesses without their consent, et cetera, et cetera. A long laundry list of basically he's been pilfering from his own band and treating them like garbage.
Well, and it's funny whether it's Danny Filth or Marilyn Manson or other folks, like
Yeah,
you can build up this whole public persona around how evil you are,
right.
right? And then when it
Evil, evil jazz hands.
Yeah, and then when people actually call you out on the crimes you've committed,
Right, exactly.
people are like, are people surprised that Marilyn Manson abuses women? Like, this is a person who built their career on claiming
Okay,
to be the Antichrist.
right,
So,
exactly. And
like,
and he boasted in his autobiography about beating up his mom. Like that was some sort of like that would give him clout. With psychopaths, who would be impressed with that? I mean, that would be
Yeah.
even problematic for sociopathic 13-year-olds, if
Yeah.
you bragged about, like, can you imagine the worst kind of like Columbine level mentality, kids? And it's sort of like child molesters are the lowest of the low in prison populations. Well,
Hmm.
so you just imagine this as a thought experiment, right? You've got some 13-year-old, like really, really edgy, kids, and they're like trying to impress each other. It's like, well, I tortured a cat. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I just, lit a firecracker up its ass and blew its ass out. Yeah, that's really cool. Sorry, the graphic example. I love animals. I'm
It,
just,
it,
but
it's
then,
funny because I'm such a huge horror fanatic and I hate cruelty.
right,
You
and
know,
th-
I,
and
I,
then
I like when the monsters win.
and then another thing where we'll dwell on that real soon.
I have
But
to go
okay,
shortly.
you have to go.
So,
Okay. So now how can people access your social media? How can people get in touch with you? How can people reach out and just say, "Hi."
well, so there's my website, evanjpeterson.com.
Yes.
And there's, the contact form. The contact form on the site seems to be how a lot of people contact me these
Yeah.
days. I'm pretty easy to reach on those social media platforms I do use. I no longer
Hmm.
use X. I don't miss it. I'm on Blue Sky out of convenience. So if you message me or contact me on Blue Sky or Instagram, I'll respond. If you email me, I will respond. Yeah, I try to be really generous with communication and contact.
Um, Shout outs to,
Shout outs to like
yeah, anybody you want.
my husband.
Yes.
Thanks, Matt. You're amazing. Uh, shout out to shout out to my dearly departed late mother, who I would never beat up because in Judaism, like that's probably the worst sin you can commit. Like beat up your mother. Oh,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, you are that's probably unforgivable, even by a mother.
What are
Plus,
you,
my dad would have beat the shit out of me if I ever raised a hand to my mother.
what are you, Meshuggah? Right? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Like you sit around here all day like some kind of ox Latishka, and then you
Yes.
raise hands to your mother. Like,
Yes. Right. Yeah. Right.
well, what kind of cockafendal ideas do you have? Yeah, so shout outs to all the peeps. Shout outs
Yeah.
to our dearly departed Bowie and Prince, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
shout outs to all the misfits. You know,
Yeah.
keep keep being misfits
Right.
and
Yeah.
embrace it.
You could be the next Evan J. Peterson or the next Alex S. Johnson or Kandy Fontaine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but be the first you.
Be the first you. Thank
Be
you.
the first you.
Thank you. In fact,
Welcome.
I said that on Facebook like a maybe a dozen years ago. I wrote this. I said, I don't want to be the next Clive Barker. I want to be the first Alex S. Johnson.
Yeah.
You know,
Someone
being
actually said that to me 20
yeah,
years ago. Had said, yeah, I'd really like to be the next Clive Barker.
yeah,
And I don't even remember which friend said it, but they said, well, why don't you just be the first Evan J. Peterson?
right, yeah,
And it was like my head exploded into a shower
yeah.
of glittering crayfish. Uh,
Crayfish yet?
yeah, I mean,
Crayfish? Um,
crayfish,
yeah.
brine
That
shrimp, sea monkeys.
Brian shrimp, sea monkeys, dew monkeys, bee monkeys. So, no, see no, and speak. But so Caitlin R. Kiernan gave me the best advice of my life, and I asked her if I could get a referral to, Subterranean Press, and she said no, and wrote me a solid page of explanation. It was a very deeply thought out email where she said all the reasons why. She said, first of all, he probably doesn't know who Baudelaire is. Second of all, he's very quirky. And third of all, why don't you just be you? Why don't you just do you? And she said, build your name. And then I realized later that she was quoting Burroughs to Patti Smith. And I was like, holy
Mm,
shit, that's iconic. You know? She just
Yeah.
Bill Burrows to me. I'm Patty Smith now, right? So that's a huge, huge, like it was a watershed moment. And this was not too far back. And so I was like, I thought, man, because I always, this is why I promote so many other people. I sort of like, I think maybe if I submerge myself among icons that nobody will recognize that I'm actually crap, but if I surround myself with, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But when Caitlin said that, I was like, okay, so I'm going to really take this to heart. And then I said, I'm going to do some solo collections. I'm going to do a new Doom Hippies. I got an endorsement from Jeffrey Thomas, wrote the forward to my Doom Hippies 3, and he compared me to Burroughs. And I'm like, hey, Caitlin, you're right. And that got me on the radar of all these other people. And I was like, I am so fortunate that I listened to Caitlin R. Kiernan, and I reached out, and she said, basically, she was saying, why don't you build up Nocturnicorn books instead of trying to get in with Subterranean Press? You could be basically implicitly, you can be the next Subterranean Press. So I'm like, dear God, that's iconic. I mean, that is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing. So I'm incredibly grateful that you contacted me. How did you get wind of Nocturnicorn Books in our,
There was a post on Instagram
yeah,
saying like, "Oh, we're reading for Le Fantastique, a tribute to
yeah,
Clive Barker," and I was like, "Well, I'm
yeah,
going to screenshot that for later."
right.
And
Okay. Yeah,
like I was like, it's like, "Oh, I wonder if my work is good enough
yeah,
to make it in. Look at all the people they've already accepted that
right.
are on
Yeah,
this
right. Yeah,
preliminary cover."
right.
So I sent you my stuff,
Yeah,
and you immediately felt a kinship, and here we are,
yeah. So,
right back at you.
right back at you. So we'll be talking, and there's miles to go before we sleep. So thank you so much, Evan J. Peterson and
Thank you,
Candy
Candy.
Kisses, you know,
Yay!
and we'll be in touch, and I'll be uploading this shortly.
Cool. All
Okay,
right.
man. All
See you
right.
soon.
One love.